The antibiotic that made me suicidal. I need to tell you about the most terrifying experience of my life. And before I start, I want to be very clear. This is not medical advice. This is not me telling people not to take antibiotics. This is simply what happened to me. Because one prescription drug, a drug millions of people safely take every year, nearly pushed me to suicide within hours. Not only that, I had violent, intrusive thoughts, heard voices, lost touch with reality, and if my family hadn't answered the phone that day, I genuinely don't know if I'd still be here. And the scary part is, at the time I didn't even realise it was the medication. To understand this properly, I need to take you back to 2002. I was in a road traffic accident where a bus crushed my right foot. The damage was catastrophic. I took an infection almost immediately, and because of that infection, surgeons couldn't properly operate for 9 months. Eventually, I get surgery, but during the operation, blood stopped flowing to my big toe, and the surgeon had to stop the procedure and fuse the big toe. He managed to repair my middle 3 metatarsals, basically the bones around the middle of the foot, but my big toe had to be fused temporarily. I was supposed to return later to finish the surgery, but then another infection hit. Life then went off track after that. I ended up in prison, and because of everything happening in my life, the screws in the foot were never removed. But then I did something doctors told me I'd never do again. I played football. Not only did I play again, I played senior football up until I was 44 years old. I retired this year to finally get my foot fixed properly. And honestly, the surgery was a success. The new surgeon explained that over the years, the bones in my foot had basically webbed together. That's why my foot was rock solid. It didn't bend. My toes didn't move, bar my wee toe. The pain after football was horrible, but the surgery worked this time. I was relieved, happy, and optimistic. Then, 1 week later, everything changed. I woke up one Monday morning with pain in my big toe. I went straight back to the clinic, independent clinic. My private surgeon didn't think it was an infection, but thankfully he still took a swab. 2 days later, Wednesday evening, I got a call telling me to start an antibiotic immediately. They found a bacterial infection. So I started taking the medication. Wednesday night, I was fine. Thursday, completely fine. Friday morning, still fine. Then I went to the clinic to get stitches removed. And during and afterwards driving home, I started to feel strange. Sick, anxious, uneasy. I assumed it was normal. I just had stitches pulled from my foot. Few were still in there. It was full of screws and surgical wounds. I got home, exhausted, and decided to lay down for half an hour before going to a football match. That decision changed everything. As I lay there trying to sleep, strange thoughts started creeping in. At first, it was just anxiety feeling. Then I woke up 30 minutes later after I'd set my alarm, and I did not know where I was. Within half an hour, I became suicidal. I had intrusive, violent thoughts I never had before, voices in my head, memories flooding back from my past. And the terrifying thing was, I knew it wasn't me, but I couldn't stop it. I felt like 95% of me was gone, like something had hijacked my brain. I genuinely believed then that this is who you are now and this is how your life ends. I wanted to kill myself. I felt I was taking a heart attack. And I want to stress something important here. I did not want these thoughts. They were forced into my mind. That's what made it so horrifying. Then I looked across the room at where my guitar is, and I screamed at God, if there's any such thing as you, please fucking save me. And suddenly I realised my phone was already in my hand. And I rang my dad. No answer. I then rang his WhatsApp. He picked up. And I said, Daddy, I'm dying. I love you. I'm sorry for everything. And he calmed me down, tried to calm me down, asked me where I was. But I genuinely didn't know where I was. I said, it's green. He told me you're in your apartment. Your mum's across the road, outside in the flower bed. Walk over to her. Now, remember, I had 5 brand new screws in my foot, fresh wounds, surgical sandal, and I was supposed to be in crutches. But I walked straight across that road, blood pouring in my foot, never looked left or right. My mum saw me and came and wrapped her arms around me and carried me into the house. She sat me down, she hugged me and she says, please son, you've been through too much, please don't die on me. And I'll never forget what happened next. For the first time in years, I felt real emotion. I suddenly understand what the pain of loss of a child was like, and I realised what suicide would do to a family. That moment brought me back enough to fight. I was rushed to hospital. On the drive down, the episode started again, but I fought it. At the hospital, the doctor switched me on to another antibiotic through an IV drip, and that night it happened again, only worse. I was hallucinating, panicking, crying uncontrollably, having violent, intrusive thoughts. And through all of it, one thought kept repeating in my head. If you lose control, your life is over. 25 years in jail, life in jail. Thankfully, my father was there beside me. And eventually, they sedated me and I finally slept. The next morning, I woke up completely normal. Clear-minded, stable, myself. Then the doctor came in. The same one again from the day before, and told me I needed to continue the antibiotic, and I refused. And he said, if you don't take it, I'm discharging you, and if you lose your foot, it's your own fault. And I said something I still stand by today. I told him directly, I would rather lose my foot than hurt myself, or most importantly, hurt somebody else. The crisis team evaluated me again. Both times, they concluded the day before, and on that day, the same thing. This was a severe reaction to medication and infection, not a mental health disorder. This man is mentally strong. Eventually, doctors found a way to manage it with me. Over 12 days, 33 plus IV drips and medications later, I survived. Now listen carefully. I'm not telling people not to take antibiotics. Most people can take them safely. But whenever you're coming up and you're coming down, and by the way, I'm saying this, if you suddenly experience psychological symptoms after starting medication, suicidal thoughts, hallucination, paranoia, violent intrusive thoughts, or complete personality change, seek medical help immediately and as help that you can get. Do not suffer in silence, and do not assume you're crazy or not wise, because sometimes your brain is reacting to something physical. And there's something else I need to say before this video ends. I truly believe there are people out there that went through the exact same experience I did and didn't survive it. People who took their lives, people who harmed other people, people whose lives are destroyed because of a severe reaction they didn't understand at the time. And I also believe there are people that have survived this but are too embarrassed or ashamed to ever talk about it. I understand that feeling completely, because when this happened to me, I was ashamed too. Personal development coach goes crazy. But now, I honestly believe God put me through this, took me through this for this reason. I believe I survived it so I could make this video. So somebody somewhere in the world can watch this, recognize what's happening to them or others, and get help before it's too late. Prescription drugs save lives, yes, every single day, but they can also destroy lives if they chemically disrupt the brain in the wrong person. Whether it's antibiotics, whether it's depression, or antidepressants, painkillers, or other medication like steroids, or even drugs or drink, people need to understand the severe psychiatric reactions to this. And if they do happen, they need help immediately. Please take this seriously. And if this video helped you in any way, share it with someone. It might save a life. It will save a life. Guys, you can see how much passionate I am there, but I spoke earlier on in the video about feeling real emotions, and the part of, now I've cried a few times. I'm saying I've cried because I don't want to come on here and start crying and trying to prove me, but I've cried a few times, and I always say I don't cry. When my mother held me and said to me, "Please son, don't die on me," I felt the pain, or part of the pain, I don't think I could feel it all, of how the mother felt and still feels today of the young man whose life I took with a single punch. And that's not an excuse saying a single punch, that's how easy it can happen. And I believe I had to go through that experience, that pain, that near death situation, to not punish me, but make me realize thank you.